folks, welcome you all to yet another podcast of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. Flagons up to you all. If you don't have one of these and it's an afternoon and an evening, then go and get yourself something of a similar ilk and join me while we discuss all things gaming, people. Well, not all things, but, you know, things that piqued my interest through the week. I've had a great week, people. I have. I'm going to have a sip of this before we get going, and then I'm going to crack straight in. But I've had a great week, and it's been an interesting week because I've started prepping up for new gen already, people. I'll tell you all about that. We do have a list of things to talk about, and, well, much like the other weeks, shall we dive through what is going to be talked about. So we're going to be talking about my Game Pass journey for this week. We're going to be talking about Wasteland 3. We're going to be talking about the new PS5 user interface, which everyone's been waiting to see. There's a whole bunch of notes on that. I was going to do a talk through of the actual video, but we'll just show it and I'll just talk for the length of time it's on, hopefully. I can manage that. It's only 11 minutes long. And then we're going to talk about a new journey with my new capture device, people, from Elgato, and what little journey that took me on. And is still taking me on to some extent, but it's all good though. In the end, people, it's all good in the end. So my week has consisted. I've had a great gym week again. I managed to get 2 runs in, which I hadn't managed to do because I pulled my calf muscle way back when, 3 weeks. Well, nearly 4 weeks now. But I managed to get a run in last Sunday. Managed to get a run in yesterday. And I've mixed that in with my 3 full 2-hour sessions of weights that I would normally do through the week. So I had a little cheeky day off from work today. I took a day's leave. And I used that because I did a bunch of recording on Wasteland, as you'll have seen it going up on the channel, Wasteland 3, last night. And after I came back from the gym after the run. And then so I used this morning to go and do my session that I would normally have done on a Thursday weights-wise today, and then came back, recorded an extra Wasteland 3. So I've now got 3 parts. I'm just rendering the 3rd part now, and I'll try and post that up tonight so it's ready for Sunday. Part 2 will be up tomorrow. We'll talk about it all in a minute. And yeah, I mean, it's been a really, really nice week because I've actually got a bit of a buzz going again for recording the Let's Plays because of Wasteland stuff, but we'll get into it in a minute. And yeah, so it's just been a very nice week. Sort of finished off with this Friday off, and then it started to come through yesterday that we were in Blackpool, Lancashire and Manchester. They're trying to get us to go into the highest level of COVID-19 restrictions, which is tier 3. And I was like, oh no, because Liverpool had already gone into them and they'd shut the gyms down. And honest to God, don't see the point of shutting down places that keep you healthy when one of the things that can actually put you in jeopardy with this virus is being unfit and unhealthy. So, you know, I think leaving gyms open is for me, because all of the precautions that are in place in gyms for me is great. And they are a place that people will go to and go home from. It's not like a pub or something where you'll bounce from one to the other, mixed in with loads of different people. So, all right, you might bob into the shop, but you'll have a face mask on and stuff. So I think certainly gyms that stand on their own should kind of be left open in this level, unless it's a full lockdown. Anyway, while I was in the gym, the news broke that we were going to tier 3, and it was confirmed that the gyms will remain open, though, which is great, because it is really my only, because I live alone, because I'm working from home. I mean, the only 2 things that get me out of the house, other than just going to get some shopping, is going to the gym and spending some time there, or going out for a run, and I'm not being able to do that because I pulled my calf muscle. So it was a nice little treat while I was working out to know that I could still keep going and doing it, people. And plus, the benefit, I mean, I said last week, like, I'm really starting to feel the work I'm doing is paying off really nicely. And I don't want to have to go, in 3 weeks' time, I have to go back and go through all of the pain of that first week of being back. I mean, I know I'm not going to lose everything I've done in 3 weeks, but you will have to go through the whole rigmarole of being in agony for a week, from the first workout back. So, yeah, it was a really nice thing to finish the week off with that. And then I came back and started recording some Wasteland, as I said, and then I prepped up for this. Actually, considering I was off, I've not had a huge amount of prep work for this because I literally just finished the Wasteland 3 recording. There was a bit of an issue with it, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then I was going to get, those astute of you will notice that we are still using the pictures on the screen behind me are actually the pictures that were on last week's. But it is kind of a generic podcast about generic things. I would have liked to have had an Elgato type image up there, but I didn't manage to find a decent one. But I just didn't have time to go rooting out new images. And plus, I know that this particular group of images is what was causing the lighting to dim every time the white ones came up. And what I've done with the TV that I suggested I might do last week was I've turned down, of all of the things I could turn down, the contrast was actually the best one. So I've turned the contrast right down. I think it was a really high. It was like 100, I think. So I've turned it down to about 30. And so far, there is a little bit of light coming through the window, but so far, we seem to be okay. So we'll see how we go, people. It's usually as we get to the tail end of the chat that things start to dim a bit. But hopefully, taking the contrast right down to like 30, you can still see the images, and hopefully I won't go really dark. At the moment, I'm really bright. That image would normally have darkened me a little bit. But we seem to be doing all right. And that one would definitely have put me in pitch darkness, But as I say, there is still a little bit of light coming through the window, so we'll see how we go on. Anyway, should we get on with it, people? Flagging's up. I'm going to have a sip of this. Oh, my goodness me, I almost gargled it, people. These things always taste better when you've been at the gym, people, beefing yourself up. When you've treated your body to a lot of goodness through the week, and then you treat yourself to something like that at the end. Here's another thing. I'm also not eating any form of crisps through the week. I actually went through a week the other week there where I didn't eat any chocolate or any kind of nibbly bits at all. But I started to get into this habit of having Doritos and those sweet chilies from... what? Those sweet chili crisps are vicious. That from Walker's, like, what the shit? So I have them only for the weekend. So I'm allowed to have some tomorrow when I'm vegging out. And then I'm back to the gym on Sunday. So Saturday's kind of my cheat day. But I'm trying to reduce anything crisps of that ilk to the weekend and not through the week. They are a nightmare of calories, people. They really are. One bag of those sweet chili crisps or a bag of Doritos, the big ones, you can easily sit and munch. Well, I can sit and munch one of them easy and be done with them in about 10 minutes. Sitting watching something and down they go. And each of those bags has about 1,000 calories in it. It's insane. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I kind of keeping that stuff towards the week. So things are starting to... I put a little bit of weight on at one point, even though I was still running and stuff, because I was just eating so much crap around it. Anyway, I digress, people. I digress. Right, should we dive in? So... I'll tell you what, so we're going to kick off with... I was going to kick off with the PS5 UI, but I'm just going to give you a wee story as to why I started putting up Wasteland 3 in the first place. So, I've started to prep up for new gen, and I'll also be, after the PlayStation UI, I'll also be talking a little bit about my new capture device, which is also designed around the new gen, and getting it now, although it benefits us now, or certainly me now, but it will much benefit me when the new gen hits. So it was an investment I was expecting to make at the time of I was going to order the capture device at the time of when the systems were about to launch. But I thought, oh, what the hell. So in buying that, which we'll talk about my Elgato journey later, but having got the new device, I'd already had in my head that I was going to invest in the Games Pass Ultimate, people. Ultimate. It is the most ultimate power of gaming in the universe, I think you'll find. So I had Wasteland 3 in my head. I wanted to do some recording on it, and I was like, this is it. This is my time. I want to get Games Pass now. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it now was because one of the clever tricks to Games Pass is if you go and buy yourself the basic, if you go and buy 12 months of gold subscription or 24 months of gold subscription or whatever, all the way up to 36 months of gold, and then put those codes in, and it says, right, your gold membership lasts until 2022, 2023. And if you then go and upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass of any kind, it will then, but Games Pass Ultimate would be the most logical thing. Just do that because it's only £1 anyway for the first month. And when you do it, it automatically converts those 3 years or 2 years or 1 year that you've paid for into Games Pass Ultimate, so you don't have to pay the monthly subscription on it at all, because you're paid all the way up until when that runs out. So if you haven't done that yet and you've got any inkling at all that you want to get a Game Pass Ultimate, do it now before they get rid of these 12-month, 24-month gold ones. Because I tell you, they've already removed them a few months back from the Microsoft Store. So the only place you can buy them is at actual stores online. Like, I got mine in the end from Shop2. But you could go to CD Keys. Or you be careful with CD Keys and make sure, because I nearly bought one there and then it said EU on it, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, the UK's left the EU. Does that mean it works or it doesn't work? I've got no idea. So I didn't want to touch them with a barge pole, so I basically went to a retailer that was absolutely UK, like Shop2, and it stated on it that it was for the UK. So but what I did was, I couldn't find a 24-month or a 36-month one, so I bought two 12-month ones. So I've got 24 months. I was tempted to go 36 months, but I just thought, that's 80 quid already, and I've already got, the Elgato paid for and blah. So I've bought myself 2 years, basically. So I bought the gold memberships, two times 12-month gold memberships, went down to my Xbox, punched in code 1, bang, punched in code 2, redeemed it, bang, and then, my thing said I've got 24 months of that, and then I think it adds a couple of months on as well. And then when you upgrade it, and then I went onto the Ultimate part on the Xbox and said buy Ultimate, and then it says upgrade now. Did that, and then it gives you a big message saying all conversions are final. So if you do this with whatever you've got now, you can't do it again. So, and that's fine, and that's why I bought the 12 months. So I upgrade, and then my 24 months then converted into Game Pass Ultimate, and it also slapped on. I think it slapped on another month or something. I can't remember now. So there you are. So anything that comes onto Games Pass for the next 2 years, I'm sorted. And I don't have to pay out any money for Games Pass for 2 years. And I paid £80. So it was £40, well, it was £39 blah for each 12 months. And so 80 quid effectively. And it would have cost me, I worked it out, and it was like, it would have cost me £260 if I'd paid it monthly all the way up until the next 2 years. Well, for the next 2 years. So the savings is just ridiculous. I mean, to some degree, I should have done it for the third year, but it was just, my brain was like, no, come on now, stop spending money, Stephen. I mean, I've saved up all this money for new gen. I don't want to start just throwing it. I'll get 2 years from now, I'll be like, oh, why didn't I just buy that other year? But anyway, not to worry. We're sorted for 2 years, people, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see at least 1 or 2 crazy titles hit the Xbox Games Pass first party in the next 2 years. I think, anyway. I mean, I don't think we're that far away from a couple of major titles from Microsoft. Between the studios that they've purchased and the initiative and what's the other one that they've created out of the blue? I can't remember its name now. But there's another one that was just created out of the blue, and then you've got the Halo. But we know Halo's coming next year, so there's gonna be plenty in Games Pass over the next 2 years to justify what I've just done. And it means as well that games that come out, little RPGs that I may not want to buy on day one because I'm like, well, I can't buy everything on day one. I can just have them if they go to Games Pass in their first party. So, and there'll be all sorts of little RPGs that I might not have tried at some point that will hit Games Pass at some point. So I think there'll be a lot of interesting stuff that I can grab from there over the coming years, for sure, for the channel to show you guys. And I think the one big thing that Games Pass gives you is the ability to dive into titles that you wouldn't normally have gone out and purchased. And then you think, well, maybe I'll buy it when it's cheap, but then you forget about it. And then, that's where you can find your hidden gems at times, people. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm delighted. So I've got Games Pass for 2 years, and that's what triggered Wasteland 3 to start getting recorded. You'll have seen the first 2 episodes go up, as I said earlier, and one of them went up today. The other one's already posted, but it's in preview for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so you'll get part 2 then. So part 1 available now, part 2 tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Part 3, once it's finished rendering, I'll upload that later on this evening, and that'll be ready for Sunday. So you'll get a Wasteland 3 today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And then Sunday, I'll maybe try and record some more. And I'm not expecting a massive amount of views on these, but I'm really enjoying playing them. I realise I'm behind it came out a couple of months back, didn't it? So there's plenty of other people that have already shown it off. But I just love it, As a pre-warning, part 3, and I have put a message up at the beginning of it, and this is why I had to spend a bit longer with it when I finished recording. For some bizarre reason, I've got this weird echo on the microphone when I'm speaking. I have no idea where it came from. I've not managed to find out why it's there. Because I then did a test record and it was perfectly fine. So I don't know why the recording I've just done has this echo on it. It's utterly bizarre. The first 2 parts are fine. It's just the third part that I did earlier. So I've no idea. You can still hear me clearly and stuff. It's just got a weird echo on it and I've no idea where it's coming from. So anyway, there's a longer story to all of that because we'll talk about Elgato and what happened when I bought that and everything. After we've talked about the PlayStation 5 UI, people. Should we get into that? So I was going to do a talk through of this, but in the end I just decided that maybe I'll just talk about it for the length of time. Like I said when I was going through it, I'll just talk about it for the length of time that it's on behind me. And we've been waiting to see what this new eye is going to be looking like for quite a while. And it was really interesting in the end because, as you would expect from Sony, they've built theirs from the ground up, right? The way that I'm looking at the Xbox Series X at the moment, I think we're not going to see anything that removed from the Xbox One. In fact, I feel like we're going to get the same interface with both. We might not. They might be slightly different. I guess we'll find out. But from the demos that people have got of the Xbox Series X, it feels like we're just going to get a up-to-date version of the interface, and you'll get the same one on the Xbox One or you'll get the same one on the Series X. And I can understand why they're doing that. They're bringing, they're just bringing a standard across all of their machines and consoles. That's fine. But with PlayStation, they really still like this generational jump where, now you're on the new system, now you've got this interface, and that interface is never going to go onto a PS4. The PS4's got its interface. And to some degree, I like it. It's a brand new, fresh feeling. I mean, I wouldn't want to go gen after gen with the same PlayStation 4 interface. It just doesn't. It wouldn't feel right somehow. I don't know why it doesn't feel right there, but feels okay on Xbox. But I think it's because I know what Xbox is really. I think Xbox is. It's more. It's not so much a dashboard than it's just a big page trying to sell you stuff, and there's a little bit at the top for your bits. You know what I mean? So I don't know, or maybe it's just the association with Windows that I just expect it to be an up-to-date version of whatever was there before. And to be honest, the amount of work they've put in to sorting out what the original Xbox One interface was, I can understand why they don't want to dump it, because they've actually found a really good format for it. So, and they've just done a massive update on it as well, so it's all looking really good. I don't really see a reason to be messing about too much and just give us a similar, if not the same thing on the Series X, so it's fine. But with the PlayStation, they've built theirs brand new from the ground up, brand new interface, designed for 4K TVs, and taking all of that into account. Not that it won't work on a 1080p TV, it will, but it's designed specifically to take advantage of 4K. And it looks really smooth and really nice, people, it has to be said. Now, I've got a list of things that they went through. I'll try and remember what all of them were. I might need my glasses for this, actually. I might need my glasses. Hello? Yes, I'm looking for a copy of Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley. It's me going into old man mode there, in case you wondered what that was all about. Right. New PS5 UI. Designed for the 4K TVs, just talked about that. Built from the ground up, just talked about that as well. I wonder if I could have got through this whole list without even looking at it. No, I couldn't. It's quite a long list. Yeah, it was when they started off, it was interesting because they said it was a pre-record. The bit at the very beginning with I think it was a Japanese guy talking. He kind of introduced it and then said, what you see next is a pre-recorded blah, blah, blah. But he said it was pre-recorded on a pre-production kit. which means to me sounded like it wasn't even on a PS5 at that point. It was on just something that had, something that was built in order to build it all on, like a PC with the same specs or whatever. So that was interesting. It always winds me up that they don't just show it off on the actual console. It's like, well, why not? You've not finished it yet. What? They're out in a month, for God's sake. Anyway, they said a few things could change by the time that we see them. So it immediately kind of showed off the fact that Quick Resume was there. They're not calling it Quick Resume. That's a Microsoft phrase. But basically, you just go firing straight into a game. I mean, you have a big button in the middle. You hit that to get your... It says press here to start when it boots up. Then you get your login, and then you can go straight into the game that you were playing before you closed it down. And, and it took seconds because it was so, the SSD is just so quick. Whether or not you can do that, bouncing between games, they did bounce between games in the video, but they didn't necessarily say that it was in any sort of stasis. They just said that they start the game and it boots up so quickly because of SSD that you're straight in-ish. So we'll see how true that is, I guess, when we get our hands on them. So the way that it works when you're in a game is you hit the PS button and there's a menu, and I didn't notice this when I was first watching it. All I noticed were all these big cards popping up with all these different things in them, like we'll talk about in a minute. But right at the bottom there was like a black menu bar, and that black menu bar is what you can scroll horizontally on and pick out what it is you want to do, whether it be to do, parties or, anything at all. You can access anything, and you've not left the game. You're still in the game. But as he did it, all of these cards pop up as well, which were the more dominant thing on the screen, and they were really interesting. They're called Control Center cards, I think they called them. And cards include things like new activities feature, which he showed off a few things to do with activities. So basically each card that pops up's got a different purpose. And one of them was activities. And when you click on activities for the game that you're in, and I assume it just knew that because he was playing Sackboy, and it said, oh, this activity is blah, blah, blah. And it can also tell you how long you've got left to complete that based on how you're running through it at the minute, like 10 minutes to go on that particular activity or whatever, which is quite cool. But it seemed to suggest that it's only if, it's built into the game to do that. But it included things like activities, trophy tracking, which they've not had before properly, so that's in there. They didn't show it off too much, to be fair. They only hinted that the card was there. There's a hints and help and a captures and shares. I mean, there was all sorts of stuff. There was ones you can go on and just see stories and I don't know, bloggy type stuff and forumy type. There's all sorts of things you can see about things you follow or games you're playing. I mean, it was pretty cool, actually. What I was wondering was, if you're not into all of that stuff, can you just say don't show cards or hide cards? Which would be quite nice, because it would be nice to bring up the menu and not have all that come up every time if you're not interested in that stuff. If you just want to bring up your menu and still see the whole game fit, in full screen, and just have the black bar at the bottom with your other stuff, would be nice. So we'll see how much you can mod it once you get it. Because the current menu system on the PS4 lets you kind of control what is in it to some degree. You can untick stuff and just have certain things in you want to have in the quick menu, So that was very cool. And the other cool thing was the cards can be pinned to either side of the game, so it kind of pushes the game that way and your card is in here, or either side, or you can do picture in picture. So keep it full size for your game and have a little box inside where you can see it running. It was great. I love that. And there was more to do with the picture-in-picture stuff later. In fact, it's here. So I've not got that far yet. Yeah, so that I love that though. I love the fact that you could bring up the card, pin it to there. There was one for help, for example. The help one. In the particular help he clicked on, it had a little video of how to do what he was trying to do. So you could pin that or put it picture in picture and then just follow him, just copy what the video's doing. It was very, very cool. I like that a lot. And the reason they're doing stuff like that is because you don't have to go off Googling or web searching for things that you know, like tips and hints, and then end up stumbling onto a spoiler because you were trying to find how to do something in a level. So it's quite cool, like that. Parties are more than just chatting now. You can set up favorite parties and share and connect. So you can have these, they're almost like groups of people, but they are parties, but you don't have to have these people online to do stuff with them. You can just share stuff, post stuff up there. They've got a real depth to them now, which was really cool as well, which I quite liked. There was a really cool feature where you could screen. I know you can kind of screen share now for like up to an hour. They didn't put any time limit on this, but you can't. I mean, basically, what they've got now isn't technically screen sharing as such. It's more game sharing. With certain games, you can connect with somebody, and either of you can play it and sort of, you know, do stuff together, or just show it to someone else. This feature was screen sharing, like proper in-depth screen sharing. For example, you can use the pinning in the picture-in-picture. So I could say to Craigie boy, oh, I'll tell you what, I'll ping you inside. I'll chat to you while I'm playing, and I'll share your screen with me, and I'll put what you're doing down here. And then, you know, if he does something in game that's funny or stupid and stuff, he goes, oh, Steve, watch this. And you can just look down and it's there. So you're basically watching what your mate's playing while you're playing something else. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, what a cool feature that is. And, you know, I thought, oh, you could be playing the same game and try to help each other. You know, like, oh, go over here, you know. Maybe, you know, not a multiplayer one, like a single player one or something like that. So I love that picture-in-picture thing, or pinning. It's great. What else do we have, people? Sharing photos and videos. They've got the whole new sharing system. It's not called sharing. What's it called, Steve? Can't remember now. Didn't actually write it down. But anyway, they capture in 4K, both in video and in screenshots, which is great, because I think at the moment, if I capture on the PS4, it's fine on a smaller screen, but if you stick that on a bigger screen, it's not the greatest of captures, it has to be said. It's great for the shares, but if you were doing a proper video or whatever, if you wanted to watch it on a big screen that someone had posted up, it doesn't look great when you've expanded it full screen. And then, yeah, so they showed you the little black menu bar I was talking about at the bottom is when you're in game. But when you go back to the main screen, it's not dissimilar to the PS4. The idea is the same. You've got the horizontal scroll bar, you know, that you have now to go through stuff. But it's very small, and it's at the top left. Well, I don't know how far along the screen it went. It was almost like 2/3. But so you still scroll through stuff, but it's kind of little icons rather than massive squares that we have at the minute on the PS4. So they're kind of, you know, it'll be interesting to see how much we can play around with that screen. It also didn't show us things like how you create your folders and lump stuff together. I suspect it'll be the same. You know, you'll be able to put folders of stuff at the top. Just group your games together in whatever way you want. But these sort of features, like those sort of features, weren't on the PS4 when it first came out. There was no folder options. We had to wait about a year before we got folder options. So I hope they've kind of got all this stuff built in. But it seemed to be that they'd minimized it like that so that they can use the rest of the screen to do all the sort of, you know, throwing stuff in your face kind of things. And I just hope it doesn't get very messy, you know, because I'm not overly interested in seeing what's happening in the outer world about this game. And, you know, see, we did dim down a little bit there, but not to the extent that we used to. So I think the contrast worked for us people. Lovely. Can live with that, can't we? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that home screen, it looks gorgeous though. It looks really smooth, really slick. The sound effects were really nice. So yeah, really, really chuffed with it. Didn't mention folders, done that bit. There was some explore function he was going on about, which I was like, yeah, I'm not bothered about that. Said it was only going to be on some regions will get it and some won't at launch, something they're investigating. And oh, that was an interesting one. The PlayStation Store is built in to the actual interface, the user interface, so it's not a separate app anymore. You don't have to open the store and, you know, wait for it to load up and then, you know, search away. It's just part of the interface. So if you're looking for a game, you just search for it on the interface. You know, you just, you know, it shows you on the screen. You just go along and then the store stuff comes up, which is fantastic. So it keeps it all seamless. And then the last thing I noted down was voice dictation, so no more typing. Now remember that the DualShock controller has got an inbuilt microphone, and so you don't have to like go fumbling around or have a headset on just in case you want to say something. So what this means is that you can basically just use, it's got dictation, so voice dictation. So all you need to do is just he showed it off as sharing the screenshot that he'd taken with the party group that was at the top. So this is where the parties being more than just parties comes in, because he goes, I'm going to share that, I'm going to share it with that party, and there's all sorts of cool stuff you can do. So he basically did that, and you talking, you just say use dictation, say blah 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 with your mouth, and it just types it in for you on screen, and then you share it. Fantastic. You get it. I mean, that means to me that hopefully they've built that into the shop when you're searching for stuff. I've got this on my new Skybox, my Sky Q box. My Sky Q box, I hold a little button at the side of the controller, and I just say whatever it is I'm searching for, and it comes up. Typing being gone forever is just bliss, people. And the irony is that when the Xbox first came out and you had to have a Connect with it, when you got a code of any description, you just held up what are they called? Oh, it's those symbols. You just held up the symbol to the camera and it went boom, and it redeemed it. And that's all gone now because they don't do Connect anymore. So you're back to typing in a gigantic a gigantic code, which I had to do for these 2 years of gold that I bought before I upgraded them to Ultimate. So it'll be nice to see those codes go if we can find some way of doing it. My personal opinion would be that you can't. You need a camera though, don't you? Yeah, I don't know how they get around that one. Anyway. But it'd be nice to, if you had a camera of any description and it could just see the picture and deal with the logo, then they could send you that logo instead of, or the image, rather than sending you the code, or as well as the code. You could try both. So there you are. So that was the user interface. Looks fantastic, nice and slick. I like the fact that it's a brand new interface and it's got all these new features on it. It's going to give us plenty to play with. Let's face it, we're going to spend most of our times in the game, and this thing's designed to not take you away from that experience. Every single thing he was showing us on screen while he was in Sackboy never took him away from Sackboy. He was always in that Sackboy game with it on screen. It was fantastic. And that's absolutely what you want. There's still far too many bits of PlayStation 4 where you want to do something and you end up going to this massive screen that takes you out of the game. I mean, one of them is setting up a party in itself, because some of it happens on inside the game, and then eventually you just have to end up at this massive screen, and then and then go back, and then it takes you back to the game, so it's taking you away. And this interface is always going to keep you in the game, and that's brilliant. So I'm really, there was hints of PS3 screen in the design. It felt a little bit more refined, a little bit more, I don't know, there was just something a little bit more smooth and refined about it than the 4, which is great and simple, but it, I don't know, it's just something I felt. I always felt that the PS3 interface was very slick and professional, like just a touch of class at the time. So it had a little bit of a feel, those sort of vibes to it. So there you are. There's the interface. Did I talk long enough for the clip to I'm sure I did. I've still got no idea how long I've been talking for, because I haven't checked. I didn't check what time I started recording, and I can't see the clock for the pictures behind me, people. So here we go. So here, let's get on to the final topic of today, which is my new capture device. All right. So I'd seen recently that Elgato had come up with the HD60S Plus, people, and I had the HD60S. And it took me by surprise because it had been out for a while and I hadn't even noticed. And usually I keep an eye on Elgato to make, because I wanted a 4K one. Anyway, long story short, I thought, excellent, I'm going to get that. It looks identical. Every sort of description about it felt like it was just going to be unplug the old one, put the new one in. However, it became a little bit more of a journey than I expected. The device is great, but you can't use the software that I was using for this device, even though it looks and feels exactly the same. It doesn't work with the Game Capture HD software that they do themselves. And I love that little tool because it's got everything I want in it and it works perfectly. And yet, they've launched this product with a god-awful version of that that's missing half of the features. And it just wasn't practical for me to use it because it does nothing nice. One of the best features, for example, if I'm recording gameplay, is that I tick the little box that says dim the audio volume when I'm speaking, so that I'm never overpowered by the game. So when I'm saying something, it's still there, but it takes the audio of the game down until I stop talking, and then it brings it back up. That feature's not there. They've got a feature in it where you can take the game volume down a little bit and push my volume up a bit for commentary. None of that's there. They have got a facility for turning the mic up, but it's not doing it the way that it should. What it's actually doing is it's going into the Windows microphone sensitivity and turning the sensitivity right up. So basically, if the way I record like this, my sensitivity like this is at 80, and this is how I record my games. But you wouldn't turn up the sensitivity to make me stronger than a game. You would take the game volume down, or you would add some decibels to my sensitivity 80 and just add some decibel to it. Because if you add the sensitivity up, you lose the concentrated sound of my voice, and you end up with it sounds horrendous, trust me, it sounds awful. So why? I mean, it's like a cheap way of just saying, "I'll whack your microphone up." So basically what you've got, me overpowered on the microphone and it's sounding dreadful. I'd have to have the microphone way over here, and then it doesn't sound as rich and crisp. So, it's just awful. The interface is awful, and it drove me to, in the end, to write them a message. I emailed them through the only thing I could find on their website, saying how delighted I was they'd released the product and how really disappointed I was that they launched it with such an awful software interface when they had such a good interface for the HD60S, which is still there. In fact, if you buy it for the Mac uses the same interface as the old one, so they get all of the features and we don't. It's bizarre. So what this means in the end is that the software they give me isn't suitable for me to capture at all on their software. And then that took me to going to OBS, which I'd used before when I did some streams back in the day. But I was never a fan of recording on it because that feature where you can dim your game audio when I'm speaking, I just couldn't. Back in the day, I couldn't find it. However, after much investigation, it is possible in OBS, and OBS comes with a lot of work, homework basically. So you have to. There's a lot of settings, and when you've been doing the videos as long as I have, I've learned that there's a certain level of quality of the gameplay that, image wise and stuff like that people want and expect if they're watching it, mic quality, all that sort of stuff. So I need to make sure that all of that quality I was given in the old system is going to be there when I'm using OBS. So I was delighted to figure out how to do the voice dimming, and I basically looked at loads of videos of the best settings to put in for OBS for good quality and all that sort of stuff, and I managed to sort everything out on OBS, which is free, by the way, if anyone ever, wants to do anything like this. So it was a little bit of a journey, but I was delighted that I got it working. The one thing that I have not managed to get working at this stage in the game is capturing 4K, because this device can capture in 1440. I think it can do 1440p at 60, but it can't do 4K at 60. It can do 4K at 30, which, to be fair, is going to be most of the games in 4K anyway on the new gen. There's going to be very few games, certainly, that we'll be interested in on this channel doing 4K at 60 frames per second. I mean, that is a big push, people. You'll be more likely, like Dark Souls is coming out at 1440p 60 frames per second. That's far more likely, which is still way better than what we had on 1080p. So, I'd love to be able to bring, not all of the time, but just bring some footage of 4K to you, because the other issue I have is that I don't have a rendering tool at the moment that does 4K. So to put my intros and outros on the videos, I don't have a video editing package that will render a 4K video. It would only render up to 1080p. So even if I capture it in 4K, I would have to just put it up for you without the intros and outros and the niceties that I always put on at the moment. Because I could buy that software and that isn't a problem, but there is a lot of different ones out there, and there are also ones that you can record in HDR10 as well. HDR10. And there's all sorts of prerequisites to that as well, because you've got to make sure you get an editing tool that's capable of doing that. And to be honest, the ones that I was looking at, like Vegas, for example, Sony Vegas Movie Maker, I think it is, looked perfect, but then I couldn't find anything on it that said it dealt with HDR10. But Sony Vegas Pro, which is the proper full-on suite, which is like 400 odd quid, can do all of that. So there was a bit more of a journey to have there. However, last piece of this story, even if I went down that route and bought the software, I've got a pretty uber laptop downstairs, which it was £1,000 odd when I bought it. It's an i7 quad core processor. It's got 16 gig of RAM. It's so capable of doing what I do. But we cannot undersay how much of a leap going from 1080p to 4K is. It's a monumental jump in graphical power, people. And everything that I was reading said that if you're dealing with 4K, you really want to have a machine that's far more powerful than mine. Basically, I would need to have a machine that was like, in order to re-render, this is me, not to capture, I can capture fine, but this is me to, in order to render it again. So if I was to lop it up and do all sorts of tweaking. So all of these things are saying you need 32 gig of RAM, you need, all of these extra things, bells and whistles. So if I wanted all of that in a laptop form, I'd be looking at about £2,000 laptop. So that's just not something I'm going to be doing at the minute. And to be honest, I don't think people watching my channel are absolutely dying for me to show them stuff in 4K anyway. But it would be nice to be able to at least do some captures for you. Let's say I'm doing a Let's Play like I am now with Wasteland 3, and I say, right, okay, in part 5, you'll not have an intro and outro, but I'll just push up everything that I record. I obviously won't be able to cut it or anything. It will just be what it was as I recorded it, which all of mine are anyway. It's very rare that I lop anything out of my videos. So I could post that up. It'd be a big file, but it would go up eventually, and you better see what the 4K looked like. So I'd like to be able to do that. And at the moment, the one thing that OBS can't do for me is capture in 4K from that Elgato device. And when I looked for ages trying to figure out why, it seems, when I finally found something on the Elgato site, it said 4K capture does not work with all third-party software, and I suspect that that's what it's getting at. So even when, it will capture fine in that product, but my voice will sound awful in the Elgato one, or I can't capture it on OBS. It'd have to be 1080p, 60 frames per second. So it's kind of a quandary at the minute, but nobody's sitting there. The big thing it gives me as the person bringing these videos to you, it's made things much more exciting and fun for me, because while I'm playing it, even though I'm recording it in 1080p, 60 frames per second for you guys, I can see it in 4K on my TV. At 60, if it was 4K 60, it can show me it in 4K 60. It would only, if I could record it, it would only record it up to 30 frames per second at 4K. But I can see it in its full glory while I'm playing it. On the HD60S, 1080p was as much as I could see. It didn't matter if the game was 4K. So everything I wasn't seeing any of the great benefits of it while I was recording it for you guys, which put me off doing recording quite a lot, because I always wanted to play the game at its most beautiful, and I couldn't if I was recording it. So I'm delighted, because I've now got a way of doing it. That little hiccup that I had tonight, that how my voice went echoey for a reason I still haven't figured out, is a bit strange. But outside of that, I'm delighted with the way that OBS is set up, so I can just record on that for now with the 1080p, my voice dipping, the game sound dipping while I'm chatting. All of the things I need to do the recording like I was doing are there, and I'm seeing it in 4K, bringing you the 1080p 60 frames per second that we were having before. So I'm delighted with it, and I'm ready. It's ready to record in 4K once I get, I'm expecting without any shadow of a doubt that they will update this software as we go on. no brand new software is going to be great when it first comes out for these sort of things that they throw in as part of buying it. But it's not a cheap product. I've paid out best part of £200 for it. So you'd expect an interface that at least gives you the basics of what the original one had, and it doesn't even give you that, not properly. There's so many bits missing from it. I mean, I'll write any of them down. Yeah, so no game volume adjustment, no proper commentary audio adjustment, no streaming or trimming elements. Not that you did any of that anyway. Very, very rarely I would just lop a little bit off the beginning or something, but it's not, I can do it in my proper software. It's not the end of the world. And yeah, logged a complaint with them. And then OBS, no 4K. But it has, the other one had a whole bunch of streaming stuff in it as well. You could actually stream directly from it to YouTube or Twitch. You didn't have to have another software package. And it had all this stuff in it where you could put your face on it. And, it wasn't a hugely in-depth thing, but as a simple product, it had loads of features for people just getting started. And this other one doesn't. I don't know why I've still got my glasses on, people. But anyway. So there you are. So that's been my little journey. I'm delighted with the product. I just hope as time goes on, we'll get a better package that software-wise that will do what I need to do just more simply. Because the product's great. I just turn it on with the HD60S and bang, record, off we go. But I guess the big bonus with OBS is you can do a lot of tweaking around and changing stuff. It's just far more, what's the word I'm looking for? Tweaky. We'll stick with tweaky because I can't think of the proper word. But yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying using OBS. I'm just, I thought I had the perfect setup for now, and then got this weird echoey effect today on the mic, which I still haven't figured out. And I think all I'll do now is, from now on, I'll just do a little test record for 10 seconds, just to check my mic's okay, and then start a new one. So that's how we get around it. Because when I finished the recording, I noticed the video was wrong. I thought, all right. And then I started another one, say, testing, what's wrong? And it was perfect. So I don't know what went wrong with it. It must have just been some little quirk. I don't know whether it was because at some point I unplugged the mic and the capture device to do some other stuff, plugged them back in again. But, OBS was off when I did all that. So when I booted it back up, I don't know. Very, very strange. It's almost like it was picking up the microphone, the USB microphone, but also picking up the microphone on the laptop. And that's where the echo was coming from. I think that might be what's happened. But why it was picking up the microphone on the desktop, I've got no idea, because it was muted. So very strange. Anyway, there we are, people. Well, there you are. That's all I have to talk about. If I keep talking, people, I'll just be rambling on for no reason at all. I hope you've all had good weeks. And I hope you're looking forward to the Wasteland 3 stuff I'm putting up. And I've enjoyed the one I put up already. There was a big part of creating characters in that first part. But we did get to some action. And there is I'm finding, like I did with the last Wasteland game, it's not all about the action's great. I love the turn-based action. They have simplified it in this one as well, so you're not kind of fumbling about quite as much once you get used to it. And I've played it on normal, and I seem to be getting quite a lot of bullet pickups, which is quite nice. So I'm not having to worry too much about running out of ammo. But I think in all, in 3 parts, we've only had about 4 or 5 fights. I don't think, if that. It's terrific, though. It really is. It's got so much style and class, and, you can look at it, because they're not a massive developer, that studio, but they've been bought over by Microsoft now, so they'll grow and expand and become better. There's little touches that are better as well, because in the Wasteland 2, there was an awful lot of dialogue that wasn't voice acted, so you would get halfway through a conversation and then you would just have to read it out, like I did on some of my Let's Plays of it ages ago. All of the stuff so far has been voice acted, so I hope that stays. The only things that I have to read out are the descriptions of looking at a body and what the body looks like, which is fine. I like that sort of stuff. I don't want that read out. And I think that's about it, or descriptions of what to do and stuff like that. So all the stuff that people are saying is read out, which is great. The voice acting is great as well. We've got some really good people doing the voice acting. The music's terrific as well. There was a certain point in a big fight with one of the bosses that the music kicked in and it was there all the way through the fight. It was fantastic. Really, really good. So, yeah, I'm really hoping to record an awful lot more of that for you. There you are. Flagons up to you all, people. Let me know in the comments below about any of the things I've been talking about. And let me know if you're enjoying Wastelands 3. Let me know if you're enjoying the fact that the Let's Plays are back for a bit. I noticed straight away that the thumbs up started banging in straight away. So I think you guys are missing them. And some of you have said to me that you miss them. I noticed there are certain people that I never hear from if I just do these podcasts. But I'll hear from them almost immediately when I do when I do a Let's Play, especially of an RPG. And that's great, you know, because I love hearing from these people. I miss them when I don't get comments and stuff from them. It's nice to chat to them. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me. Anyway, for all those people that have been missing them, thank you for sticking with me. It is a case of me needing the buzz to do it. Getting this new capture device has definitely given me that. So you know, and Games Pass for that matter. So hopefully I can get stuck in and enjoy doing them like I did before, people. Who knows? Maybe we'll even play a Let's Play that I get to the end of. You know what I mean? There's not many of those. There you are, people. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this podcast of mine, and I shall see you in the next one. Take it easy. Bye.